Well, happening now, a big day, in fact, a historic one for same-sex couples in Bernalillo County. At 8 o'clock this morning, in just a few hours, the county clerk plans to start issuing marriage licenses for those who have filled out the new gender-neutral marriage applications. This after a big court decision yesterday. News 13's Samantha McDonald is live at the Bernalillo County Clerk's office in the northwest part of Albuquerque with more. Fill us in, Samantha.
Good morning, Matt. Well, like you said, the clerk will start issuing marriage licenses to same-sex couples here this morning. And the clerk says whoever's in line by 5 p.m. will get a license. This is all happening because yesterday, District Court Judge Alan Malott ordered the Bernalillo County Clerk to issue licenses regardless of gender or sexual orientation. Several same-sex couples then went to the clerk's office yesterday to fill out the new gender-neutral marriage applications. Bernalillo County will now join Santa Fe and Doña Ana County in issuing same-sex licenses.
You know, my position all along has been I'm not a policymaker and I'm not a judge. I'm an implementer of the law. Today, a judge made a very clear legal ruling and provided me with very clear direction to move forward.
However, the issue remains unresolved for the state as a whole. 29 New Mexico legislators say they plan to ask the state Supreme Court to stop all county clerks from issuing same-sex marriage licenses. Now, Matt, both sides are in accord about one thing. They say a decision on the issue should not be made judge by judge or county by county. Matt, back to you.
All right, thank you for the update, Samantha. The clerk's office has printed 1,000 of these gender-neutral marriage certificates to get ready for today. The opponents continue to say they're reviewing all of their legal options, but some may be filing a suit against the Doña Ana County clerk this week, possibly as soon as today. Meanwhile, another same-sex couple is expected to file a lawsuit in Taos County today. A major developing news at 5:31 this morning. Syria says it will use all means available to defend itself in case the U.S. has a military strike there. President Obama's administration is expected to make a formal declaration today about Syria using chemical weapons on its own people. Yesterday, Secretary of State John Kerry said that there is, quote, undeniable proof that Damascus used the weapons against civilians, and Syria must be held accountable for that. Against those weapons, we include women and children. CBS's Susan McGinnis has a story from New York as the U.S. prepares to possibly launch a military strike, and I must warn you, some of what you're about to see is quite graphic and disturbing.
What we saw in Syria last week should shock the conscience of the world. It defies any code of morality.
Kerry was responding to last week's attack outside Damascus. The video of suffering men, women, and children is difficult to watch. They were exposed to what experts believe was nerve agent. Hundreds died.
The indiscriminate slaughter of civilians, the killing of women and children and innocent bystanders by chemical weapons is a moral obscenity. By any standard, it is inexcusable, and despite the excuses and equivocations that some have manufactured, it is undeniable.
Kerry accused the Syrian regime of failing to cooperate with UN inspectors. The administration is expected to make a more formal announcement today as it considers possible military action. 4 U.S. Navy warships are already in position in the Mediterranean with the capability to launch cruise missiles. A British submarine is also reported to be in position. A missile attack would almost certainly be launched in the middle of the night when most civilians are off the streets. The Assad government continues to deny it used chemical weapons and vows to defend itself against any attack. Susan McGinnis, CBS News.
Well, since Syria's civil war started more than 2.5 years ago, more than 100,000 people have been killed again. This includes women and children. UN experts are collecting samples and testimony from doctors to see if they say Syria really did unleash chemical weapons on its own people. Officials say the Obama administration has its own intelligence and it confirms chemical weapons were used there. Meanwhile, the Syrian foreign minister challenged the U.S. to produce this evidence. All right, back home here in New Mexico at 5:34, a task force now looking at ways to save the lottery scholarship program before it runs dry. Those scholarships could be scaled back as soon as next year if legislators don't do something this January. The task force is made up of lawmakers and university leaders, is now looking at ways to stop that, including increasing the students' required grade point average or giving out the scholarships based on financial need. Two things had been off the table in the past. Many legislators have said they don't want to exclude anyone and they want to find another way to try to fix that scholarship program. Well, charter school in Albuquerque is back open this morning after it was the target of vandals last weekend. Someone tagged buildings here at the Mountain Mahogany Community School near 4th and Griego Saturday night, then started a fire in a shed with athletic and playground equipment. The school says vandals used things inside lockers to start that fire. It's not clear how much it's going to cost to fix everything, but the school says either way it's going to be expensive. Well, from foul-ups to a full-blown cover-up, a new book points a finger firmly at Albuquerque's police department for failing to solve a murder back from 1989. Caitlin Arquette was just 18 years old when she was shot in the head and left for dead on Lomas near Arno. After that, her case went cold. Arquette's mother, well-known author Lois Duncan, has now written a second book on this case. It is called One to the Wolves, and it details the last 20 years of Duncan's search for whoever killed her daughter. She got a private investigator and started interviewing new witnesses herself. Ms. Duncan believes that police botched the case from the start, possibly to cover up some of their own crimes.
The state was in a position to expose a great many criminal activities, some of which appear to have been covered up by certain cops.
Ms. Duncan still doesn't know who pulled the trigger, but she is hoping the new book will have the same effect as her first one, prompt people with information to come forward and hopefully solve this case. Well, a woman in Albuquerque is undoubtedly still missing her pet this morning. Her lost dog was put to sleep less than a day after she was found and taken to one of the city's animal shelters. Shadow here, who the shelter says had no identification, disappeared from her home on the west side a week ago today. Her owner, Phyllis LaRue, put up flyers, called 311 twice, and went to the west side animal shelter the next morning. Now, no one could find Shadow, but later in the day, she had learned her pet had already been euthanized despite the 24-hour wait rule. The shelter staff says the dog was old and blind and simply had to be put down.
If it's suffering, there's no 24 hours. We have to look at the best interest of the pet.
I got her from the shelter in Aztec because she was going to be euthanized the next day. I had her 15 years. And then she's euthanized without a just cause, as far as I'm concerned.
All right, the shelter says it couldn't find Shadow's owner because Shadow wasn't tagged or microchipped. Well, the State Livestock Board has seized 25 malnourished and crippled horses from 2 farms in southeastern New Mexico. About a dozen were taken from Forest Farm near Maroros and the rest from a farm in Portales. This was yesterday. Livestock Board says none of the horses had seen a vet in the last year. Now, no charges have been filed against their owners. However, the investigation is ongoing. Well, sad news this morning from the Albuquerque Biopark. Ziggy, the gray seal, died last week after complications from pneumonia and an infection. Ziggy was partially paralyzed when he was rescued from a beach in New Jersey and brought to Albuquerque. He had hurt his flipper recently, and his health has been on the decline. Sad news there. I'd like to go see Ziggy. All right, if you live in Duke City and you haven't gotten your blue recycling bin just yet, don't fret. The city says it is on its way. The Albuquerque solid waste leaders say it may look like the bins are going out randomly and slowly, but really it is all part of a bigger plan. A new recycling program started back in the spring, and when it's all set up, nearly 190,000 homes will have one of these blue recycling bins, and it'll let people recycle more things, such as cell phones and old household appliances. All right, now to the reason why it's taking so long, longer than some people would like. The city says the bins go out to new homes based on truck routes, and every week and a half, a new route is added. So depending on where you live, you may not get your new recycling bin until October.
We try to do it in a safe manner, being effective, cost-effective, I guess is the best way to put it. So it does take some time.
You should get a letter in the mail about a month before you get your bin. If you haven't gotten that letter yet, it probably means your bin is coming in October. You can also find out when you'll get your bin by heading to our website, krqe.com. Click on links. We'll send you to the city's website. You type in your address. You will get what you need to know. I have gotten my bin. I love it. Makes recycling easier than ever. The one thing you can't put in there, though, glass. You have to take that in person. The city says it's just too dangerous to have glass flying around like that. All right.